Ever since we got tiny living a couple years ago, I've been heavily inspired to build a lot of tiny homes recently that I literally wanted to make a brand new shell challenge specifically inspired by that. And so today I am making a micro home shell challenge that anyone can participate in. And if you want to do it, it's under the hashtag spring micro shell and it's not due until October 1st, but I will link all the rules and stuff you need to know down below in the description. But let me show you what I did with my own shell challenge because I was really happy about it. So when I tell you I really love tiny homes, I truly do, because not only are they cheap and affordable, but they have so many good benefits to it, like reduced bills, relationship gain, skill gain, moodlets, comfort, everything. And I find it super beneficial, especially sims on a budget, looking to live alone, or just wanting to just have a smaller home for like their family of like 6 or 8 or whatever. But I wanted to build a tiny home specifically for one of my new Sims that I'm going to be playing with very soon on this channel, that I wanted to give them a spot where it didn't feel too overwhelming, too overly cluttered, but it gave them a space to do what they need to do. And this Sim actually loves art and sports like basketball and soccer. So I added a lot of cool like sports and artsy fartsy elements to this home. I did go a little bit over the top with everything because micro homes are only 32 tiles and it's already small enough because I'm on a 20 by 15 lot in Newcrest. And so I feel like you can't really put everything you want in a micro home, but you can at least try to. And so it is a 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom home, but the kitchen, dining room, and also little hallway area is all open floor plan. There's no living room at all. So I try to squeeze in a wall TV that we have, I think from Get to Work, pretty much right at the dead center of the bedroom area. And the bathroom is actually a 3 by 1. Everything is completely functional. I did play test it ahead of time before I uploaded to the gallery with Katrina Caliente. The shower and, toilet works, the sink works, so we're all good to go. But I utilized every nook and cranny of this lot. You know me by now that I love landscaping more than anything. Exterior design is like more of my style because I feel like outside I can do a little bit more, play around with like the landscaping, the objects that I can place out there and just have fun. That I feel like indoors is a little bit limiting at times, but you can still play around with like the decals and all the clutter items like magazines, cups, mugs, sunscreen, plants. I really went a little bit over the top with that on the indoors, but I'm okay with that. If you're fine, I'm fine. But I will say also too, I've been trying to utilize a lot of objects that I don't normally use a lot. Like this bookcase, I have not used it in a while, and I'm pretty sure we got it with the Book Nook kit or some other kit or a pack that I cannot remember the top of my head. But utilizing this bookcase in this build made perfect sense because it's small, it's easy, and it's like not taking up too much space, and you can kind of slide it against the wall to kind of zhuzh it up a little bit with extra stuff you want to add to the build. But I will say though, I struggled so hard with this because I kind of forgot midway through that there was no bedroom or bathroom, so I had to cut the whole living room idea out of the water. But I'm kind of glad that I did that because I felt like if you're gonna live in a tiny home, you don't really need a living room per se. Plus, extra space for more bare necessities like your living, like your bedroom, and maybe a little office, which I realize there's no office area in here. I mean, you could use the dining room table with your laptop and be perfectly fine, but I just didn't really think about my actions to this build. I just kind of went with whatever and hoped for the best. I did do all this on stream, so if you wanted to go watch it back, I will link it down below to my VOD channel, More Spring Sims. The more I started building in this, the more I started adding extra things that did not need to be here. So I made the kitchen smaller. I added in a pet bed and also a little cat tree. So that way you can have a pet in here if you wanted to, because I feel like it's just you and your home. You might feel a bit lonely. You might need a companion, a pet or two, or 5, depending on what you want to do. I mean, cats really much sleep anywhere in The Sims 4. Dogs, I feel like they can sleep anywhere too, but I feel like they need a proper space to be. So I felt a cat made perfect sense. for this build for right now. I will say it took a little time. I will say it took a lot of time for me to figure out the general like color scheme and floor plan on how I was going to fit everything in here. But I think at the end of the day, it kind of worked itself out, was adding all of the diplomas and all of the plants and just random stuff that made sense because the sim that lives here is going to be a university student. They're like in their second semester of university. They have a cat and they kind of just live alone. They've always lived alone, but the sim is actually a good friend of my sim Aspen Marie O'Connor, which I feel like Aspen Marie O'Connor is just my ride or die. If you've never watched any of my videos about Aspen, please do, because not only is she my favorite sim I've ever created, but she's like one of the best sims that I feel I've played a lot that had a very successful career, family life, social life, and just doing well for themselves. And I cannot wait to show you all the next update video that I have because recently Aspen had twins and her son moved out of the house to go live by himself in Copperdale because he had got a scholarship at Copperdale High for arts and music. So it just made sense because Aspen is lifing and she's struggling a little bit, but she's getting better. And that's what is important to me. As long as she's getting better mentally and physically and emotionally, I am good. If my Sims are thriving, I'm thriving. And that's what's most important. But as we move on to the outside, I will say I just was like having a field day. If we ever got a landscaping kit in The Sims 4 or a landscaping basics or like the basics of like The Sims 4, like basic landscaping, like shrubbery, flowers, hedges, cacti, like all the basics of a landscaping in one pack, I will be so happy. But I think if they were going to do that, I feel like they would include a little bit more. Like I personally would be totally okay with just having basic flowers and plants for indoors and outdoors. But I think also too, having an opportunity of having more extra basics like basic curtains, basic windows, like nothing too over the top, nothing crazy, just something simple and plain Jane, like the plain Jane door that I use in this build specifically, it's plain and simple. And I feel like we need a lot more plainer windows and doors and curtains and just basic everything, because I mean, I love The Sims 4, and I love this game so much to the point where it's like my all-time favorite game to play no matter what. I just feel like there needs to be extra stuff that is just for the basics of the basics. So if The Sims team's ever watching or listening, hey, can we get a basics pack in The Sims 4? I feel like it's a possibility, but it's like a matter of like when we'll get it. And I think personally, I think that might be like a base game update type of thing. Because like if we're gonna get the basics, we might have it in the base game instead of like having to buy a whole pack of like where it's $5 or 10 or 20 or even 40. But I don't know. I think I just have like this idea that I want to have all the bare necessities that gives my home feel like a home. And something I've always noticed too, like for myself, is that I play in a very family centric way where all of my Sims have to have a family, whether it's, you know, biological family or just being adopted into another family that they just showed up and here they are. Whatever it is, I'm always a family game player. And so I either give my Sims extended family, like even if like they're by themselves, I give them like aunts and uncles and, you know, grandma and grandpas and maybe like some parents if they are so distant, they're just there in the background. I want to build up that family tree so that way my Sim has a little bit of some character to them where like they're not just basic and bare bones, like they're not a brand new Sim. They had some history, you know, like this build has some history. University students studying, you know, language and literature, they become a lawyer, they have a cat, and they just want to live by themselves. They've always lived by themselves. They're like 32 years old, and their parents are no longer with them, but their aunts and uncles live around in different parts of the Sims 4 worlds, like Windenburg and Newcrest, and even Willow Creek. But they like to keep to themselves. Introverted, don't got a lot of money, don't gotta pay a lot of bills, but the student loans, though, is where it's going to eat them up. Because something that I'm doing differently now with this sim specifically is that they are not using their household funds in order to pay their tuition. So they're taking out loans out after loan after loan after loan to basically have the sense of realism. And I kind of did that with my sim Aspen, where she took out a couple of loans. She got a couple of scholarships here and there. Don't get me wrong. She's very, very smart. But I had her take out some loans so that way she can kind of understand the value of a dollar, a value of, just living life, because she is a five-star celebrity because of her mom, Aspen Diane O'Connor. And so she never really had that sense of like, oh, I don't need to buy this. My mom will buy it. Or like, I'll get it for free because I'm famous, blah, 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 blah. And I always want to teach my Sims, like, hey, you gotta pay for this no matter what it is. And so I kind of pretend of going into Create a Sim as like a store. Well, they'll go into CAS, look at some clothing, and then I'll like deduct some simoleons from their household funds, like 20 simoleons or 40, depending on how many outfits I give them, like a shirt, pants, some shoes. I kind of do that every once in a while just to add that touch of realism. Honestly, at the end of the day, I think we all have to say that we need things that we want but also need at the same time. Like personally, I would love to see hotels. I want to see more things for elders. I want to see a lot more things for the other life stages that don't really get a lot of recognition or like spotlight, like elders and infants. Elders and infants are like the two life stages that we have that don't have a lot. Infants got some stuff. Elders got a lot of things they can do, but an elder Pacific pack would be my dream. I made a whole video about this and I feel like I should make a whole other video about it again, but in like a different way of like what I want to see. Because personally, I think we just need a lot more stuff just for that. Because I like what I like and I want it in the Sims. I just only want what's best for my Sims at the end of the day. I may cause drama, I may cause destruction, but in reality, at the end of the day, I just want them to be happy. Sometimes, depending on the sim. But regardless, I'm going to go ahead and go into the game and show you all the build in real time and just like show you all that the build is fully functional with the bathroom and everything. Because I know sometimes speed builds can be a lot. They're kind of too fast and I cut things out. But this time, real-time tours are always fun towards the end of the video. But let's go ahead and go into the game. So now that we're finally in the game, I have my playtest sim here, Don Lothari No, to playtest this house for us. So that way you can see everything in its final glory. And to be biased here, I really love this home because not only it's a tiny home only using 32 tiles, I feel like I added in a lot of good things in the backyard and also on the inside to give your sim enough space to thrive and even grow as they get a lot more money or whatever they really want to do. But like I said, this home is only a 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom home, and everything that you really need is on the inside. But if you wanted to like garden or, look out at the stars or even like paint a little bit, it would just be all on the outside, of course. But as we make our way onto the inside, as you can see, the general like foyer area is quite cramped with a lot of stuff. And the sim who's going to live here is a university student. They love art, they love law, they love knowledge, reading. So they have a lot of things that they've collected over the years into their one little space in this corner. We have their art, we have some puzzles, some boxes, a lot of random magazines, a cat calendar, of course. We have their aircon, their thermostat, and their bookcase, their chess set, and a bunch of change and things. We have their yoga mat, their toy box for their pets, their bed for their cat. And then over here we have their kitchen. It's not really that big of a kitchen, and I was gonna make the kitchen a lot bigger than I thought I did, but I felt like the sim who's gonna live here doesn't really need a lot of space in order to cook their basic stuff. And they don't really need a coffee machine, but I always end up adding in one because like university student, late nights, staying up for who knows how long, you need some caffeine in you to keep yourself awake to finish your essay that's supposed to be due at 11:59:59. If you know, you know. Traumatic. Never again. But I wanted to make their kitchen very quaint and small, so just added in 2 counters, a stove, and a fridge. I have the little dining room area over here with 2 chairs and a table. And then, of course, their main bedroom. Now, this bedroom was going to be a little bit bigger than I intended to be, but I felt like a single bed with a TV and, of course, their alarm clock over here seemed perfect enough. And then their 3x1 bathroom, which is fully functional, by the way. So we're gonna have Mr. Don Lothario come over here real quick so that way he can show off the lovely bathroom. You can use the shower perfectly fine, like I said. You can also use the toilet, which is also very great. And he can also use the sink, which I think is lovely. So the entire bathroom is fully functional, which is really, really wonderful. And then as we make our way to the backyard, we have everything you need to know. Their bee box, we have 2 planter boxes. I added in some strawberries and some grapes. I also added in a telescope, a little kiddie pool to lounge in during the summer season because it gets pretty hot around here in Newcrest. We also have a little art easel to do some painting. I added in the grill and also a picnic table, some bikes for you to bike around the neighborhood, and then of course a basketball court with some soccer balls and basketballs, 2 trash cans, and then 2 debug cars that we'll never be able to use, but it's nice to look at because we don't have cars in The Sims 4 and we can't drive. But overall, if you do want to download this house for yourself, you can check my gallery ID, which is SpringSims. And if you want to do the shell challenge for yourself, whether you want to get it toured or not, it's all under the hashtag #SpringMicroShell, and it's not due until October 1st. But overall, as always, I do hope you all enjoyed it. Let me know down in the comments below, as always, if you've ever built a tiny home for yourself. If not, you probably should. But as always, I do hope you all enjoyed it. Let me know down in the comments below. As always, go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all next time. Bye!